order the April 14th, 2025 meeting of the Yolo Transportation District. Let the record reflect that the time is now 6 p.m. exactly. All right, I'm now going to go to determining quorum. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll of the Board of Directors?
County of Yolo,
Here.
City of Davis,
Here.
City of West Sacramento,
Here.
City of Winters, here, City of Woodland. We have one.
So absent and then C. Davis.
NEC Davis and Caltrans. Thank you.
Perfect. Let it note that currently our Woodland member is absent, but she has already told she's just gonna be a little late, so she will be here soon.
Okay.
All right, perfect. The next item to consider is approval of the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Perfect. I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Motion passes. Actually, any abstentions? Any no's? I didn't hear any, just checking. All right, so next we would like to recognize Steve Streeter for his service on the Citizens Advisory Committee. So first, I'm actually going to have Steve come up. Perfect. So Steve, just to note, is the City of Davis's appointee for our Citizens Advisory Committee. He, I think is a letter from you, Director Chapman, that we're going to be presenting.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Autumn's like, what is happening? I'm going off script, just kind of like briefly reading. And so today we are recognizing Steve Streeter for his service to the Citizen Advisory Committee. Steve and his wife Nancy potentially are here with us today. Steve, did Nancy come too? Oh, I feel that. My husband said the same thing. And you guys are here with us today, and we have an excerpt of the letter. Do you want me to read it, or do you want Director Chapman to read it? Okay. Director Chapman, I'm gonna read it. So your son Nathan served on our Citizens Advisory Committee from 2017 to 2020, lending his time and energy to represent the City of Davis and especially Yolo bus riders with disabilities. He also brought joy to our Yolo bus drivers and regular passengers who got to know him. After Nathan's passing in 2020, you volunteered to continue his service on the Citizens Advisory Committee. For the past 5 years, you've been a steady presence at our advisory committee meetings, helping shepherd the organization through a period of transition. You served as vice chair for most of that time, stepping in to lead meetings and steer the committee through complex issues. The CAC and staff will remember you fondly, your kindness, compassion, and dedication to serving the most vulnerable members of our community. On behalf of everyone at Yolo Bus and Yolo Transportation District, we express our deepest gratitude and our appreciation. And with that, would you like to say anything before I pass it to my colleagues?
Can I come help, Steve?
Fine.
Thank you for your recognition of my service on the Citizens Advisory Committee. My son Nathan was the original Davis representative with my help. Lucas Frericks nominated Nathan in 2020.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Steve. And I'm actually gonna pass it to a couple of my colleagues. I heard Director Frericks, your name mentioned, as well as Director Chapman. And so do you guys want to start us off?
Well, thanks so much, Madam Chair. Just, Steve, thanks so much to you for your years of service. The Citizens Advisory Committee, for this organization, I mean, is a very important one. We get a lot of feedback from you all, and you do a lot of hard work and lifting for us and as ambassadors out in the community, especially around transit issues. And so really, really appreciate your service and Nathan's, of course, before you. And just, you know, I think he's very modest. He has been a city council member himself in another jurisdiction, community development director, longtime planner and community development director for other cities. So, I mean, I just want, you know, we're not, he knows what good public policy is and good public services. And so just want to thank Steve for all of your great work on this body. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Director Ferris, and thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Steve. I don't, I've gotten to know you over the past 5 years in my term. My first term and then this, embarking on my second. And I don't, I step back and think about, Director Ferris just mentioned some of the other things that you do. And the impact that you've had, I think, on the Davis community, but through your work here and through Nathan's work on the larger community, Yolo County, as a model for folks. As you kind of move away and step away from these roles that you've been in, it's definitely a void that we're gonna have to fill and big shoes to fill. And I want to just thank you for your continued support for this county. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Chapman. Thank you, Director Ferris, Director Moore.
Thank you so much for your service. If your son's service overlapped mine just a little bit, and it was just my greatest honor to know him and to continue to know you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, can we go down now and give the plaque and then take a picture together?
Yeah.
Y'all, okay, let's do that.
Here's some flowers too.
Oh, perfect.
Well.
This is something that.
Sure. Yep.
And be a rider. Give to the, yeah.
That's awesome.
Drivers,
Are you gonna hold
yeah.
it? Are you gonna hold it up?
Are we gonna talk about it? I think we're.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna go. Yeah, and then, are we good right here? Is this fine, y'all?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Great, yeah.
Here you go. Thank you so much, sir. And you're gonna go in the middle? You're VIP.
Yeah, you're in the middle.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it
Yeah?
gender, not
all
okay.
men over
Oh,
there.
there we go. One, two, three. One, two, three.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you again. Thank you. I do let you go. Thanks, sir.
No, you're fine.
This was, yeah, I think, well, actually, someone, yeah, you passed that, let's get, just, so you know, yeah, I know Steven handed this out, this was, so because you rock, I roll, this is Nathan, would, yeah, didn't he would give these to the bus drivers, like, that, I thought, maybe not, I thought that was the case. When he would take Yolo bus, so love that.
That's
For Bus
awesome.
Driver Appreciation Day, very, very cool, love it.
That's great. Thank you so much again, Steve. All right, now, at this point in the meeting, the Yolo Transportation District accepts comments from the public on items that are not on our agenda and items included on our consent agenda. We do not call consent agenda items separately, but consider them all at once. As the agenda indicates, state law limits our ability to respond to comments, and for that reason, we may not respond if you are commenting on a matter that is not on the agenda. All matters on the regular agenda will include an opportunity for public comment after the staff presentation on each item. Madam Clerk, are there any general public comments?
There are no comments online.
Okay, any in the room? Yes, okay, please come on down.
Do you want one?
Yeah. Thank you.
I think everybody got one.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we're good.
Did everybody get one? Okay. Okay.
All right, perfect. Are you ready for your public comment?
Yes,
Okay,
good evening. Thank you for opening the public comment section. I'm Michael Barnbaum, and I represent the Yolo bus riders that live in the Sacramento County, City, and Sacramento State area. Just wanted to make a comment after reviewing the agenda. I had thought that this was gonna be tonight, just focused on the budget workshop. But I do see that there's an item on consent that might be hinting more at that. And I know that's the day after Memorial Day holiday. I do support that. I will be in town. I'll just be coming back from vacation that Saturday before from my spring break, so I will be available for that special date. If you'd like to calendar that, I accept that. May is bike month, so that's coming up when the month changes. And last but not least, the cap to cap trip is next month. Both Southwest has nonstop service to BWI, and United has nonstop service to Washington Dulles. For those that are looking for a nonstop out of Sacramento and don't want to head to the airports via the Capitol Corridor into the Bay Area. So 2 airlines offering convenient nonstops area into the Beltway for your going to the cap trip for those of you that are going to be going. Because of my spring break next month, due to a family event and other things, I will not be able to go on the cap trip this year. One year I do want to go to DC and perhaps go to the rail conference presented by the Rail Passengers Association in a couple of years, if that fits into the schedule. So thank you, and I look forward to the upcoming discussion on the agenda tonight on the short-range transit plan information. So we'll wait for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Any additional public comment in the room? All right, and Madam Clerk, we still have none online.
Right, no public comments online.
Perfect. The next is the consent calendar, items 5A through 5D. Does anyone wish to remove any items for discussion? I'm seeing none. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, moved by Director Lauren, seconded by Director Ferrex. All in favor?
Aye.
Great, motion passes. Next, we are moving to the regular agenda. We're gonna start with item 6, appoint Lulu Zhang and reappoint Patrick Gill, Lisa Baker, Molly D. Agostino, and Olin Woods to the Citizens Advisory Committee. And Executive Director Bernstein is going to present on this item.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. We just have a very brief presentation. I want to welcome Lulu Zhang, who's here in the audience tonight. Lulu applied for our at-large positions when we were broadly advertising for at-large positions. And at that time, we had a lot of representation from the city of Davis. So we spoke with Lulu, but when we found out that committee member Streeter was stepping down, we reached out to Lulu to see if she was still interested in serving on the committee. And I had the opportunity to meet with and interview Lulu, and was really moved by her story and her dedication to Yolo Bus and her great ideas that she had for improving it. And I know Director Chapman had an opportunity to speak with her as well. So our staff's recommendation is that we would appoint Lulu to be the City of Davis representative on the committee. And as well, while we were at it, we realized that we had a few other members who needed to be reappointed. The Citizens Advisory Committee members do serve 4-year terms, and there is no term limit, but they do need to be reappointed every 4 years. So we're asking for you to reappoint Patrick Gill, Lisa Baker, Molly D'Agostino, and Olin Woods. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you so much, Executive Director Bernstein.
Madam Chair, if I may, I do apologize. I just want to note one correction on page 41. There's a table there with the existing and proposed term dates. I just wanted to note that the term end date for Olin Woods was missing. It should be April 14, 2029, consistent with the others that were listed there.
Thank you so much for that note. I'm now going to take it to my colleagues to see if there's any discussions, questions, comments. Looking to my right. Looking to the left, none. Oh, yes, Director Ferris.
Great slate of new and continuing members. Just the quick question I have is around the term start dates and end dates. I mean, I'm a little surprised that there's not a little more staggering of, you know, and so is it just, maybe not all these people will, they'll, you know, they're ultimately serve a 4-year term, but just, you know, just curious about why we got the entire body essentially starting and ending in the same date. It could be a little bit of a challenge maybe later on, so just curious
Yes,
about that.
yes, no, indeed. There were 3 that were all appointed at the same time and their terms expired at the end of 2024. But then as we were going back and looking at some of the members who had been on for a longer period of time, we couldn't actually, we found when they were originally appointed, we did not find the dates when they were reappointed.
Got it.
So we decided to just, it doesn't mean it didn't happen, we just didn't find it. So we wanted to decide to go ahead and reappoint everybody.
Got it, thank you.
Okay, any additional comments? Look to my left.
Madam
All
Chair,
Yes,
Yeah,
of
and
course,
then-
Director Chapman.
Thank you. And, Dr. Bernstein, what, the 2 that are at large that are vacant, are we recruiting for those? Or are you not, what's just status on those?
Yeah, we did do 1 round of outreach, which is where we met Lulu as well as Frank Reyes, who was appointed by this body last year. We do want to make another push. It's in the work plan. It's just, we just need to go out and do another round of advertising for that, to continue to find appointees. At the time, we wanted to, as I kind of mentioned earlier, we sort of had an overabundance, if you will, of applicants from the city of Davis. And we really wanted to make sure we were having more representation from other communities that were underrepresented. So in particular, West Sacramento, and some of our rural areas of the county. So that's, I think our next focus is to kind of do more of an outreach push, for representatives from those areas.
And just to be clear, when the CAC meets, oh, apologies, Dr. Chapman and Director Chapman. Keep giving you honorary degree.
Yeah, it's great. So what have you done?
Did you have any additional comments or questions?
No, I don't know if we're gonna hear from, we'll invite her up maybe, or after.
Absolutely, we will.
Yep, I'll wait for that, yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
So the CAC meets, in person, and where are they meeting in person?
They meet here, and they meet every other month, so 6 times a year. And it's like usually 1 week before your meeting.
Okay, great. And roughly, I don't know if you would know this or if one of the staff would know it, but Woodland, you said Davis, you have a lot of representation. Like, what is the general composition?
Yeah, great question. So there is 1 seat designated for each jurisdiction, that is on the board, so 5 total, not including our,
Bye, Steve.
not including our ex officio non-voting members from Caltrans and UC Davis. And then we have 3 at-large seats, excuse me, we actually have 4 at-large seats, one of which is also currently filled. And those can be from anywhere in the county.
Got it. Thank you so much. All right. Any additional comments or questions from my colleagues?
Yeah,
Yes, okay, Director Lauren.
I would just point out that you and I we were an ad hoc committee to look at equity and other factors, and so I'm really proud of the work of the CAC and how it is organized to reflect Yolo County.
Thank you. That's great. Okay, with that, Madam Clerk, do we have any online comments?
No public comments on.
Okay, do we have any public comments in the room? Seeing none, I'm going to bring it back, and this is an action item. So I will entertain a motion.
So moved, Chair.
Okay, moved by Director Vega.
Happy to second.
Okay, seconded by Director Ferretz. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes. Moving on to item 7, Fourth and Hope Grand Jury Response.
Did you want to hear from?
Oh my gosh. I'm just moving right along. Lulu, would you please come up? We would love to hear from you. Apologies.
Oh, I can do that.
Welcome.
Thank you. So I didn't prepare a speech because I didn't know that I would need to speak up today. I moved to Davis in 2011 as a student, and my parents Well, most of the Chinese parents were worried that their young children driving would get in trouble, so I had to rely on public transportation to go shopping, like in Vancouver, to go to Sacramento International Airport, to visit downtown Sacramento. So I have had extensive use of Yolo County, Yolo transportation. Thank you guys. Otherwise, I don't know how I would have gotten around. And then now, since I'm settled here and my parents, they use Yolo bus a lot because they don't speak English yet and they do not want to get in trouble and then deal with a police officer not knowing how to speak the language. So it's very convenient for them to take like Yolo 42A from Davis directly to a Walmart in County Fair Mall. Yeah, growing up, public transportation was a really big part of my life. So it's like driving is a big part of people's lives here. So I thought, as a long-term Davis resident, I hope I can contribute my part, like my knowledge of my previous public transportation, like in China and here experience. I hope to bring that to the community.
Well said.
Oh,
Thank you. Yes, that was amazing to hear your story.
Oh,
Thank you so much for sharing.
oh, thank you. I was happy that you were gonna move on. I thought, oh, good.
I really appreciate hearing your story. And I know you are going to contribute significantly with your lived experience and your background. And so thank you so much for stepping up.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I
Yes.
really appreciate you guys.
Yes, thank you.
Can I say one thing, Madam Chair? And I don't, just so people watching at home, yeah, the packet, one of the things that in our head says, that Lulu took the 42B to her US citizenship.
Oh, yeah.
Ceremony, for Yolo bus when she was going to care citizenship.
I
So.
think that was Yolo 230.
Oh, it says here 42B, so I'll have to auto, you know. Oh, 30.
I love the specificity.
Yeah, took the bus to that ceremony,
Oh,
which I think is really
it's funny because Yolo bus 230 is right at my apartment complex outside. There is a bus stop. And then it dropped me off right at the location where I'm gonna do my naturalization ceremony.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lulu.
Very nice.
All right, anything else from my colleagues? All right. Oh, yes, of course.
Thank you, Luna, for being here and for your commitment, and I love your stories. I'm also a naturalized citizen, and I was a child when I became naturalized, and I think my parents would have liked to have public transportation to go to our citizenship appointment to relieve the stress. So thank you for sharing that story.
Thank you so much, Director Vega. And with that, we are moving on now to item 7, Fourth and Hope. This is an informational item, the grand jury response recommendation. And we have our senior planner, Lola Turney, who will present this item.
Thank you all so much for having me this evening. As was mentioned, I'm Lola Torney, Senior Transportation Planner. And when we talked to you tonight about the Fourth and Hope transportation options. So as a background, June of last year, the Yolo County Civil Grand Jury issued a report called Addressing the Issue of Homelessness in Yolo County. We won't be left behind. It did include one finding and one recommendation that directly impacted Yolo Transportation District. And that finding highlighted the limited transportation options to the Fourth and Hope's East Beamer campus. Next slide. The finding explicitly states the Fourth and Hope property is difficult for its intended clientele to access by bus. The closest bus stop is approximately 1.5 miles away at the intersection of East Main Street and Yolo Polo Plaza. The transportation vans at Fourth and Hope, which initially were donated to alleviate the transportation issues, run irregularly or not at all due to a variety of factors. The recommendation states, City of Woodland and the Yolo County Transportation District should renew efforts to establish bus service in the northwest industrial area of Woodland. The request for a bus stop should be included in the next SACOG Unmet Transportation Needs Report submission. Last year, we issued a response. Your body directed Executive Director Bernstein to issue a response. And in that response, we stated that we would work with Fourth and Hope and the city of Woodland to evaluate improved transportation options. The three listed were to expand fixed route service, to expand B-line service area to include Northeast Woodland, and to expand the privately operated van program. So a little background about the Fourth and Hope East Beamer campus. It offers an overnight shelter as well as permanent supporting housing units. It has its own community center. And hopefully this year or this month, we'll see, fingers crossed, residential addiction treatment program will open up. And right now the residents are around 225 clients. Next slide. Slowly, well, there we go. The East Beamer campus is located, as you can guess, on East Beamer Street, right near County 102. It is, as the grand jury report noted, 1.5 miles to the nearest bus stop, the Walmart bus stop at Yolo Plaza, and which is, both of those sites are currently outside, or excuse me, the East Beamer campus is outside the current B-line service area. So right directly outside of the East Beamer campus along East Beamer Street, there are no sidewalks and there is a very narrow shoulder. And the actual campus itself is not accessible by our fixed route buses. Our 40-foot buses don't have a wide enough driveway to be able to access into the stop. And so there's into the shelter area, excuse me. And so the location itself is currently not ADA compliant and we cannot offer fixed route service to this location. Next slide. So because of that, that option was determined to be infeasible. So we have three other options to analyze that are part of the report, part of your packet. The feasible options for analysis are to expand B-line service to cover all of Woodland using existing resources. So right now, there are 4 vehicles that serve Woodland for our B-line service. Or another option is to expand B-line service to cover all of Woodland and to increase resources to maintain the existing performance levels, meaning that would require increasing our fleet size from 4 vehicles to 6 vehicles. And that is at the recommendation of RideCo, which is the software provider for B-line service. Or to launch a new van/shuttle program. Caveats being the new program would need to be ADA compliant, which the current program is offered by East Beamer campus is not, and would need to be open to the public, meaning not only serve Fourth and Hope. So there would be some logistical things that would need to be figured out, including marketability and fares and those types of things. So with that, all the analysis is offered here in your staff report, as well as the attachment, which is the full recommendations report. But ultimately, coming down to cost per option, those three options, if you were to go with the staff recommendation, which is to expand B-line, maintaining the 4 vehicles, it would cost $0 for the first year. Or if you were to increase the expand B-line service and then increase the fleet up to 6 vehicles, the first year would cost around $588,000. The third option being to expand the van program, which again would require more logistical situations that would need to be determined through this body, would cost around $331,000 year 1. So with that, our recommendation is to approve B-line expansion into the unserved area of Woodland with the existing B-line budget and fleet service, levels, excuse me, of the Woodland service area. And then we will return to staff, we'll return to the CAC and the board next spring. Any updates? Next slide. If you were to go with that option, the staff recommendation, we would expand into the area shown in purple here on the map. And can note that this area has a high number of current jobs and the number of jobs is expected to grow over the, by 2050, I believe. And then we can offer, pretty much immediately offer 3 new B-line stops located at the Woodland Public Works Department, the Fourth and Hope East Beamer campus, and also the Target Distribution Center, also along East Beamer Street on the other side of 102. So with that, our staff recommendations and next steps are to approve the Beeline expansion into the unserved areas of Woodland with the existing Beeline budget for the Woodland service area. Begin a 30-day comment period, and then with final board approval coming back to you in May, our May meeting. And then we would aim to expand service starting in June or July of this year, depending on how much staff time it takes for back end work, again, for RideCo, and then also for us to update maps, things like that, and put more outreach out. And then we would, again, come back to this body and the Citizens Advisory Committee in the year, spring 2026. So with that, I'm concluded my presentation.
Thank you so much. I'm going to now bring it back to my colleagues. Do you have any questions or comments? All right, I see Director Vega has a comment or question.
I don't get one of your honorary degrees.
Doctor. I'm like Sac State, I'm just handing it out. No shame. Director Vega.
When you go to slide number 18 that shows the map with the purple areas, I'm trying to make out where the Yolo Polo Plaza is. So that's the stop that's closest to the area that we're.
That's
talking
currently,
about?
yes, that is the closest fixed route bus stop, and presumably Beeline bus stop to the East Beaver campus currently. The Walmart parking lot. It's not.
So, Director Vega, if it helps, the current boundary is Main Street itself. Once you
Main
get east-
Street is, okay.
Once you get east of 150, so everything south of Main Street is included, everything north of Main Street is outside the service area.
And, you know, I think one of the reasons that, I know I use Beeline is because of how quick the wait time or how little wait time there is. So you know, 1 minute, 1.4, so if I'm reading the table correctly, like the expanding, so option 2A, that adds 1.4 minutes to every ride? Or just to go out there, the travel time from the current border, Main Street to the extended, is that my understanding that?
Yes, so the way it was described to us by RideCo, it would take, yes, as a passenger, it might take an additional 1.4 minutes for your ride to get to you. And
For all riders, not just the ones that are going out to there.
but for all riders, potentially, yes.
I mean, 1.4 minutes doesn't seem that long, but I just you know, I would hate to lose ridership. Or we've offered such a great service level, right, that if folks see this increase. So I appreciate the wait time information. I wanna say there, having been out talking to, our industrial area, there's employers over there, I mean, you can drive by and you see all the cars there, and a lot of those shifts are programmed, and to be able to offer an extended service, I think it's super valuable, and so I thank you for recognizing and including that we have a big job base, there, and it's going to continue to grow.
Okay, thank you so much, Director Vega. Do I have any more comments, Director Chapman?
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you. Couple quick questions. So I'll kind of pulling the same string around wait time. So the wait time is that increase is if it's just serving the residents at Fourth and Hope, or if it's like what Director Vega just said, right? There's a lot of other industry and people out there. So is that accounting for other folks that are in that area that are currently not being served who may use Beeline?
My understanding is it would be Woodland in entirety, so anyone asking for a ride, requesting a ride may encounter a 1.4 minute increase in wait time. Because of the because of the expansion out there, it may take longer for the vehicles, if they are to serve out there, to maybe serve someone else on the other side of Woodland. After the
If
fact.
I can take a swing at this, because we're essentially taking the same amount of fixed resource and spreading it across a bigger area, the average wait time will increase by 1.4. I believe it's an average, and then also the travel time will increase by 4.2 minutes. So one is waiting for the vehicle and the other one is just how long it takes you to get to your destination. And that's again, because they're combining trips, right? So it may be that you're on your way from point A to point B, but you've got to stop and pick somebody up, out there, for example. So these are averages across the entire Woodland service area, is my understanding. Did I get that right?
I'm not sure if it is average, that's just, what they anticipate,
Okay.
is how it was phrased.
Dr. Lauren here.
I like, it does say average, I apologize, thank you.
And then,
Dr. Lauren?
Yes, I want to most graciously say that a minute and a half is an incredibly great problem to have. In winters, it's 40 minutes to Deadhead, or, to go to Vacaville and back, it's 20 to 40 minutes in all the rural directions. So people are waiting because of how spread out we are for their rides. If we had a minute and a half problem, I would feel like we won the lottery, so, good job.
Good context. Director Chapman, apologies, you weren't done.
no, you're good, thank you. And then, so you have a cost here for year one. Is there any anticipated cost for year two or year three or? do we have-
Yes, in the attachment to your pack,
Yeah.
part of the packet, the staff report, yes, there are built, so the year one costs include the cost to increase the size of fleet. And do some training as well for additional operators will be required, but past that, it would just be built into the budget and additional operator time and mileage. It's in there. Yes.
No, I'm just, I guess I'm just curious around, so, and just to call a spade, right? Like the city builds or somebody builds something out kind of middle of nowhere. And it's unmet transit need, and then it falls onto this jurisdiction or this district's lap to then pay for that increase in time, and because it's located so far away from any other type of public transportation. Right, so the choice the city makes to put it somewhere, we then incur the cost to get people back and forth. Is that what's happening?
The choice on what to serve and where, it falls with this board.
Right.
And it's at this board's discretion. When this project was approved, I will note we have Doug Zett, the executive director of Fourth and Health, is here with us, and I hope he's here to make some comment. He may be able to shed some light on the original conversations leading to this. There was no resolution at that time as to whether or not to have a transportation plan that included expanded public transit. I think oftentimes when cities or jurisdictions are approving new development, there is a transportation analysis that's done, an identification of what those transportation needs may be. I wasn't party to those conversations. Of course, I wasn't here at the time. But yes, in terms of unless there is some kind of cost capture built in at the time when that project is approved, then there is an ongoing cost for us to expand our service to meet that need going forward.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Director Garrett?
Quick question on the slides on, I think it's slide 9, well, it's page 19, I don't know if it's slide 19, but page 19, which is just an E-line expansion stops page slide. You can make that a little bit, yeah, thanks so much, Shane, appreciate that. So I guess the three that are highlighted there, are obviously the three that are listed on the right-hand side, right, which are Public Works Yard, the North and Hope, East Beamer Campus, and the Target Distribution Center. I mean, is there a particular reason, is it just a highlighting of those, or, I mean?
No.
Potentially, it would serve anywhere in the purple shaded area that was on the slide before. I'm just curious, why are we highlighting these three? Because I think there's some other like job centers like Yolo County Office of Education and others that are all within this area that are even within the purple, yeah, absolutely, that are in this purple sort of expansion area so I was curious, what do these say?
Why those?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. Very good question. And the reason is there's not a lot of ADA compliance happening up there. So those are the three locations that we could find that would allow our vehicles to serve and be ADA compliant. There's no sidewalks in the majority of the streets.
Got
And, so therefore, we were able to, for Target Distribution Center, there's no sidewalks along East Beamer Street,
Yeah.
excuse me. But there is a sidewalk leading from the street, non-ADA compliant, but from the street itself, but where someone could be let off of our vehicle onto a sidewalk that would lead into the Target Distribution
Got it.
Center
Okay.
itself. And then the East Beamer campus, the vehicle can enter into the campus itself, and then someone could be picked up in an ADA compliant way. And then there's also a space in front of the Woodland Public Works Department on Pioneer that does allow for some ADA compliance, and we went out there with our operations staff to
Yeah.
confirm.
Great,
So not to say that we wouldn't want more in the area if there were ADA compliant spaces to allow our vehicles to pick up. Right.
I mean, one of the job centers in this area is the Yolo County Office of Education. And there's probably a pretty good likelihood that a bunch of people might actually be interested in riding Beeline to and from there. I mean, so
I would assume it's ADA compliant.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's certainly
It has to be.
sidewalks out there, certainly. I mean, I think which are out there, but also, I mean, at least the whole area around that building is, so, but anyway, just curious about that.
Yeah,
So
I'm
again, I
happy
guess
to look into
the
that.
the three stars on the map are areas in which we can have our Beeline buses stop that do not have ADA compliance, or they are?
They are currently ADA compliant to
Got it.
where our vehicles could pick
Got
up
it.
someone
Okay.
right now.
Great.
That's also starting a 30-day comment period. Those are the types of things that, this is by no means the only 3 stops that, if you're saying that we can look into the Office of Education, I'm happy to go out and look at that. And
They've got a nice
any
campus.
other-
Yeah, I mean,
Perfect.
there's lots of people going to and from there. And
I
probably
love it,
many
and that's what we
people
want,
so,
and we want to make,
yeah.
so if there are any other of those locations, happy to collect
Great.
those as well.
Thank you so much, appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, anything else? Okay, Director Vega.
Thank you. So I think I'm familiar with this area, the one on Pioneer, and something that I'm really looking forward to, the YTD team to seek out during public comment, is the lack of ability to walk out there. It is not fun to walk from there. So when, Director Chapman was mentioning, YCOE, it would, I mean, I do it, but it's not fun to walk from there to there, or anywhere from here for that matter, right? So. I mean, the Fourth and Hope campus, and yes, the folks that are gonna arrive there and they're gonna go into the community, I presume. And all the other ones, and where are folks really gonna walk to, and it's not walking friendly out there, just,
Right, presumably they would go there for work directly from a different part of Woodland.
Yeah, that's again, it's just a means. to
yeah,
get people
I mean,
from.
Exactly, picking something else
I
up.
mean, the Yolo County Food Bank is also in this,
Yeah.
I mean, in the same area as well too, so it would potentially would be,
oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so. it's-
Already starting a public comment.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we looked at that and I believe it's not ADA compliant, but I'm happy to go back out and check. But
yeah, the roads leading into the food center.
Yeah, but it sounds like I think it's more the ADA compliant part, I think, is the pickup and drop off, like general areas, I think. Because in general, it's just, it's a rural area, I think. Okay, any more comments? Okay, yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Mhm.
I just wanted to make sure I have this right. We weren't able to receive CAC feedback before this meeting. They did have a chance to review over email, but they have a meeting that's coming up that could be incorporated in for the 30-day public comment period.
Yes, Madam Chair, that's correct. They'll be meeting on Monday, May 5th, which is, we'll be during our 30-day public comment period, so we can get their feedback then.
Okay, great. And then the other thing about engagement I was curious about is on page 64 of the YoloTD staff recommendation. I noticed that after collecting data and evaluating outcomes with Fourth and Hope staff, that YTD staff may return to the board with recommendations. I was wondering if we can also include Beeline users, broader users besides just the staff at that facility as a part of that survey outreach process to see how this expansion may have impacted current regular riders. But I also understand there's an increase, I think, in ridership happening with the warmer weather that may throw some of those wait times and other things off, is that right?
Just to confirm, you're asking for Beeline riders to come to the May meeting?
Not to the main meeting, at the one-year evaluation point.
Oh, next
As long
spring.
as they're, considered as part of that, or have an opportunity. Yeah.
I don't see why not.
To your other point, we are seeing, the Beeline service in Woodland is still relatively new. It has not yet hit a plateau with ridership, and we are seeing, this is our second spring, and we're already seeing this spring is stronger than last spring. And so, yes, there will be, I think to your point, there will be other factors driving perhaps longer wait times and longer travel times, just simply because more people are discovering the service and using it. So, we're not holding other ridership constant while we're introducing this, right? So there's gonna be, I think we will see, if the current trends continue, we're gonna continue to see ridership go up until we reach a point where, people just don't wanna wait that long for the service. And it's a good problem to have, but I think this expansion will help get us there more quickly.
Thank you. Any additional comments from my colleagues? Okay, Director Bernstein, so I see that we did send a letter, and we had an opportunity to connect with, Fourth and Hope staff, with the clientele and with, City of Woodland. I'm just curious, what was our conversation like with City of Woodland in just acknowledging Director Chapman's, comment about not, I guess, just realizing that YTD was gonna take this on in regards to needing to expand.
So we've had a number of conversations with the City of Woodland over the years. I mean, since my tenure, starting with when we initially envisioned the Beeline, and we're looking at the question of service areas. And so I think there's trade-offs, some of which we're talking about right now. If you serve a bigger area, you're spreading same resources over a bigger area. Also, the fact that it's not particularly walkable or transit friendly out there are safety concerns, right? These are the 3 stops we've identified. Are people going to use this service to get to one of those 3 stops and then walk somewhere else that we don't serve, where there's not a sidewalk? Absolutely, right? So, when we provide as a public transit district, we like to provide service in places where it's very safe and walkable for people to do so. Since the grand jury report last fall, we've had a number of conversations both with Fourth and Hope as well as with the City of Woodlands. And most recently, we reviewed this set of recommendations with them, I would say 6 weeks ago. And they had some good questions, some of which are the same questions that have come up tonight. But also recognize that, given all the options, this probably will make the most sense.
So by the one, I just want to make sure, because we have 3 in front of us, and so, City of Woodland was, in support of option, I'm gonna be even more specific, 2A, but I just want to make sure
I don't know if I could say that they specifically endorsed an option. That's not my recollection of the conversation. I think they expressed questions, they had questions about it, but they didn't necessarily express that they had a strong preference for this one over the others.
They understood why this is the recommendation we were bringing to. But
straight political is. They understood the information that was provided to them.
and why this is the recommendation that we're bringing to you, yes.
Okay.
There was no support or no, they didn't say yes, yay or nay to any of the options, to this option.
Okay.
That said, I don't know that we asked exactly in that way.
Okay.
And I'm always hesitant to speak on someone else's behalf, particularly other jurisdictions, so.
I want to speak to
Director Megan may have had more recent conversations.
It's like the City of Woodland is here.
I mean,
No, I appreciate Chair, I appreciate the consideration, certainly as the host city, and, I just have to say, I think we make the best decisions we have with the land available and the information and the resources we have, so, while I would say that, the location of Portland Hope may not be perfect, but it was the best we could do. And so in terms of the question at hand, so council did not weigh in, and it's not something that we normally would do on some of this, to bring something up to council for endorsement. Now tell me, there is the committee where we have, our staff, and the name escapes me, sorry, it's the TAC? The TAC. Was this discussed at the TAC, and was that where, our city staff learned about it and weighed in?
We did not present this item at the TAC. We let them know that this analysis was happening and that we would have a separate meeting with staff. And we did have a separate meeting, as Autumn mentioned, Dr. Bernstein mentioned, with the city manager and director of community development. I think this is titled, correct?
Brent,
Yeah.
yeah, and Brent's on the tax, so.
Exactly, yes.
Anything else, Dr. Vega? I think just a couple of things, just in light of, I would say, some of the issues we've had, just around like our communication with our transit center and some of the other things, as it comes to our host city. I think it would be helpful, and it doesn't necessarily have to be for this, but I would like to just, flag this. That when we are communicating, it's not, again, that the host city would be making the decision, but it would be helpful to know general thoughts, preferences, on it, and actually just asking that question, like, hey, my board is gonna ask me which one you prefer. Could you have, what, do you have a preference? That way we could say like, hey, no, they don't have one, at all. And then how, just for me, last question, but before I take to public comment, unless my colleagues have another one. Do we have guardrails in place to try to make sure in the future that this doesn't happen?
So I'm looking at Brian. One of the roles that he has and the planning team has is on development review. And so that means kind of working with the cities to make sure that we know what's in their pipeline. And in fact, just recently Lola, this was her job, was land use and transportation integration previously, is starting some working groups or conversations. I'll let you characterize those, Lola.
Yes, so we will be setting up coordination meetings with all of our member agencies, and we have one currently with the city of Davis. It looks slightly different from what we envision it to look like. And then we will be having one later this month with West Sacramento, and then starting to roll out across the rest of the county. And hopefully by the end of the summer, we will have coordination meetings with all of the cities and be able to talk about exactly this. What developments do you have coming up? Both land use developments, but also what transportation things do we all need to be aware of? Bicycle pedestrian projects, any roadway rehabilitation projects that might impact our transit, those types of things. And so we can give them a heads up on when you send us a comment, when you send us an EIR, for example, we're not caught off guard that this is coming, but also you're not surprised by our comments when we do. And so the hope is by having these coordination meetings that we will be able to weigh in on the types of development going in, even before it gets to the environmental phase, even before CEQA is brought in. And so they can work with their developers, city staff can work with developers to make sure that the developments are as best served as they possibly can be by every transportation option. So we don't have it again.
Thank you, that's helpful. Brian, did you want to add on?
I was just gonna add, she's exactly right. If we don't know about a project until we receive the EIR, it's too late because the developers have already sort of locked in. And they've already invested a lot of time and energy, excuse me, to develop their site plan and what they're gonna do. And then you're having a struggle, you know, if we don't feel like the orientation of the site and the intensity of the uses is supportive of public transportation. So yeah, that's the whole purpose of the coordination meetings that Lola's setting up. We've already started, you know, tracking in more detail, kind of what's going on in the different communities where the growth areas are. Ultimately, we can't make decisions about what the land uses are, but we can really try to press for, you know, smart, you know, development patterns and orientations of the site that can support, public transportation.
Orientations and designs of the site.
Thank you. One last thing. I see you, Dr. I don't know why. Jeez, Director Chapman. I don't know. It's the beard. It's very dignified. Okay, so just if I understand that the recommendation, and I don't want to speak for you, but I'm pretty sure that your recommendation is option 2. I don't know if you necessarily said it just straight up. But if we were to go with option 2B or option 3, where would that funding come from? Like what pot of money?
I think that's a me question. So that would be, gosh, where do you even start with this one? Really the place where we would have to look, where we're not already don't have our funds allocated, would be TDA funding, so that would be Woodland TDA dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's helpful. Director Chapman.
Thank you. So, and I'm, maybe I asked a question earlier about the cost. So if I'm understanding it right, forgive me for asking this, but
Yeah.
I didn't process. So you go with option 2A, right? And it's 0, it's absorbed in year 1. In year 2, is it still 0?
That would be up to you based on what we come back next spring, but
So if-
theoretically, yes,
You would, if we kept everything the same,
yes.
it would just continue to be in the same operational budget that we approved this
In the
year.
same operational budget, yes,
If it's-
assuming that the cost per mile or the cost per,
Got it.
yes,
And
exactly.
then it comes back and we say, wow, the wait times were double that, and we're hearing some feedback and ridership's getting an impact. If we were to adjust those, that's when we would then see a budget adjustment that we would need to then cover what's outside of what's currently allocated. Am I
Correct,
reading that correctly?
you are.
Got it, perfect, thank you.
Are we good, Chapman?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Lauren.
Thank you. I wanted to go back to Director Fong-Yuvis's comment about on the eventual review and bring up the letter that we received from the CAC chair. That the CAC was, or Lisa Baker in particular, the chair was notified about this information, and there's a response. And I think there's something worth mentioning on that it says, I don't have any particular comments, that I concur with the recommendation with one modification, a mid-year evaluation and a post-year evaluation to see if there are changes in behavior ridership. And, I don't know if we have time for that, but it seems like it would be good information to see the value of the change.
If that is something that you would like, we can certainly squeeze that in as best we can in the fall.
Any additional comments, Director Vega?
Just one.
Thank you, Director Lauren.
The coordination meetings. So if I understood that correctly, they're gonna be with each jurisdiction
That is the hope, yes.
and
We will be reaching out to all of the jurisdictions asking to have this type of coordination meeting, and if their staff is open and amenable, then yes, we will start this.
okay. And those are gonna be regular cadence just to keep up. with?
Yes, they can go anywhere from every other month to quarterly to 6 months, depending on the jurisdiction
And
and
what we have going.
exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, we are going to go to public comment. I'm actually going to start with online. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
No public comments online.
Okay, great. Public comment in the room. All right, calm down.
Thank you, Dr. and Chair Hurley. I'll say something about that at the end.
That is accurate.
Yes. So I want to piggyback on what Director Lauren had mentioned in her comment about Winters winning the lottery. And I think that there's a formula based on what you had on the screen where I think both Winters and Woodland can share winnings in the lottery. And this would benefit the district. I think it was recommendation number 3, which was utilize 6 beeline vehicles and using existing vehicles rather than the purchase of new vehicles. So you're like, okay, so where am I going with this? I believe when we were discussing a couple of months ago when I was last here with the beeline service in Yolo, Knights Landing and Winters. I believe Winters has 2 vehicles now for beeline service.
I think it's one,
Or is it 1?
it's one.
Okay.
It will be soon too.
Okay, it will be soon too. Okay. So, I've been a big proponent. Because I've said what really brings a lot of us here at the table is the 42s. But Winters doesn't have the 42 and is the only one left without it due to how the geography is. And I've always been a big proponent of fixed route service in the city of Winters with the basic concept of Davis Amtrak Station, UC Davis, State Highway 128 and Interstate 505 down to the Vacaville Station and the Vacaville Transit Center as the basic concept, giving Winters fixed route hourly service 7 days a week. So Winter's constituents know what time the bus comes and can get a good memorized schedule when using the service. And as Director Bernstein said, ridership is growing and it's a good problem to have. And I completely agree. So I think perhaps in that sense, the option to give Woodland 6 vehicles for what you're asking for in recommendation, just having a conversation about it. And maybe a conversation with the city of Woodland, and maybe if they have an ADA access advisory committee, and I said, because just for the record, I'm on the DAC at the city of Sacramento, the Disability Advisory Commission. So we recommend a lot of things to our mayor and city council relating to access, and a lot of things have come up about audible signals, crosswalks. So I'm gonna wrap up, so that's my recommendation. I'll just wrap up to say this. Dr. Barnbaum is my sister Deborah at Kent State, and my best friend is Dr. Flo Kofer, and my president is Dr. Wood and First Lady Idara Wood. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna bring it back to my colleagues. Oh, I'm. Apologies, sir. No, you don't have to be brief. You can take your full 3 minutes, please.
Well, good evening, directors, doctors, trustees, whatever. So, I am the executive director of Fourth and Hope, and we've been operating out at East Beamer now, Community of Hope, since 2021. When we started this venture, it was 8 years ago. And so 8 years ago, yeah, we talked a lot about transportation. The developer, Friends of the Mission, their director, uses this comment a lot. It's been like it's like putting together sausage. You get a little bit of pieces here and there, and eventually you come out with a product. And that's kind of how this campus has come to be, and different funding sources and things along the way. We have the emergency shelter, we have the permanent supportive housing. There was a funding component for the permanent supportive housing that did require that there be transportation, public transportation within a mile walking distance. Now that funding source ended up not being a funding source that was utilized. And so then I think this fell off kind of the docket then, because we always knew this was a need. It's been an ongoing need. How Fourth and Hope started providing transportation is we had people there that needed to get from point A to point B. And so just out of the basic need of taking care of the folks that we had in our care, we started driving them around, and we continue to do that today. And we will continue to do that, regardless, but it comes at a cost. And so today, the funding that's generally utilized to provide services to our shelter clients is now being utilized to drive vans. And so then that does not allow those funds to be utilized for direct service within the shelter. So there is a cost to all that, not to mention Fourth and Hope, we're not a transportation agency. And so if we had to move in that direction, then we would have to figure out how to fund that. So I do sit here tonight and want to throw my support at the recommendation from staff. We would be very blessed to have that as an opportunity for us out at that campus. And so I appreciate you taking time tonight to consider it, look at it. And I want to thank the city of Woodland for allowing us to have the campus, because we're able to serve now as an organization more than double the amount of people we served just 7 years ago. So actually it's going to be closer to triple. So, and the need was there, so it needed to grow. And so we're happy that we were able to do so. That's all I have to say about that.
Before you leave, how many folks do you serve there?
Right now at that campus, you're looking at roughly about 280 some odd folks there just on that campus.
And do most of them not drive?
No, there are drivers there that do have their own vehicles, but I would say, and again, I don't have the data in front of me, but I'd say it's less than half of the people that are on site there. The residential treatment facility that will open hopefully any day now, all 60 of those individuals would not be driving. The shelter it's probably a third or so have access to transportation. The housing is probably maybe around a third again. So, and their transportation, even though they may have a vehicle, isn't the most reliable. They have limited income as well, so.
Do my colleagues have any questions? Yeah. Okay, thank you so
Right,
much
thank
for
you.
coming. We appreciate you. We appreciate your work.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, I'm bringing it back to my colleagues, Director Ferris.
Yeah, I mean, I think, so firstly, appreciate this agency sort of taking seriously the grand jury report. We actually frankly are under no requirements to actually, implement any of the any of the recommendations from the grand jury or the recommend, but as per their findings. I do think though that it's important for us to sort of take it seriously and to attempt to do so. I think that of course, it's one thing, of course, to try and expand the service to Fourth and Hope. I think that was, a lot of people asked that originally when it was being built, sort of at the edge of town, and that was I think a consideration and a real one. I think, but also the expansion of the sort of proposed expansion and also attract, be sort of encompassing a variety of other, I think, honestly, job centers and sort of destinations in the woodland community that are not captured currently, I think is a really good thing. I think we'll see, obviously, time will tell, but I do think there's gonna be a lot of usage of the service. So I think also, much like the Beeline sort of writ large, it's an iterative process. I mean, I think we're going to see, sort of have to do some fine tuning as we move along. There is also potential as we're going to the next item here soon, the short range transit plan. There's definitely been some discussions, as much as we're potentially in one action expanding the sort of service territory and the operations of the Beeline. We will see through the, I think, short range transit plan process that, we may also end up making some additional adjustments with other fixed route services and also, potentially reinstituting fixed route service in winters, for example, but also Woodland may not want that fixed route service it's had for a long time. There's a variety of, just sort of moving pieces there. So I think as long as we have this ability to continually kind of keep tabs on what is, sort of the current state of play in terms of ridership and sort of increases and such, and be able to make adjustments, which I think we do have that ability. I think this makes a lot of sense for us to sort of be, moving in this direction. So anyway, happy to, I don't know if there's just moving that, the action is really just to sort of, open the staff or the 30 days public period, but I'm so happy to make that motion whenever it's needed.
Thank you so much, Director Ferris. Any other questions, comments? And then I will look to our legal counsel. I don't actually think we need to make a motion, right? We were just opening it up, or do we need to motion for that?
I thought the recommended actions were a little interesting myself. I think if anything, you would give direction to open up the 30-day comment period. I don't know that you would need to take the second action, which is to accept the staff's recommendation, but how you do things necessarily.
I think the second motion or the second item was really meant to say, open up the 30-day public comment period on which option, right? So it's identifying which option we're opening the public comment period on of the three options that we presented to you. So we're recommending option 2A.
Okay, well, yeah, open up the 30-day public comment period on option 2A. That's what I would say.
Okay. Okay. I have a first from Director Ferris and then a second from Director Chapman. And it sounds like I'm gonna need to take a motion. All in favor? Aye. Perfect. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we have directed the staff to open up public comment for option 2A. All right, moving on. I will note that this one is what we just left was listed as an information, just noting it. So I don't think it's a big deal, but I'm just noting it.
It says action. It says action.
Oh, I'm looking.
They've got a special agenda for you.
Yeah, Madam Chair,
special.
I apologize. I think that was an error we caught somewhere else, but not on your chair's now.
Got it, okay. Perfect, I'm moving on to, it's good, I'm all good, seriously. Okay, item 8, short range transit plan update. This is for our existing conditions, community survey, and draft goals, objectives, and performance measures. And we have senior planner Lola Turney to present to us again.
Yes, thank you so much. I will be joined by our consultant staff from TMD for this item, who will give the majority of the presentation. Are you able to add Daniel as a speaker? Daniel and Ron?
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great.
As well. So can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Ron. Thank you.
Okay, great. Go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, I could start us off. I'm Daniel Pena. I'm a senior planner with Transportation Management and Design. The consultant hired by YoloTD to conduct the short-range transit plan. And Ron?
I'm Phil Coyne. I'm with TMD. I am the project manager on this project. And we're happy to be here and happy to give you the update as we go along here.
All right. So on the agenda today is just to remind everyone what is a short-range transit plan, and then going from there, going into some of the key findings from the short-range transit plan, which includes the market assessment, the service evaluation, the results of the community survey that were conducted as part of the short-range transit plan, some draft goals and objectives that are going to be guiding the recommendation process, and then next steps from here. Next slide, please. So what is the short-range transit plan, or SRTP? A short-range transit plan details how a public transportation system will function over the next several years, usually spanning 5 to 10 years. This plan will help guide YoloTD in making some informed decisions regarding services like Yellow Bus, B-Line, and ADA paratransit services, and the time frame is between now and 2031. We began work on this plan last year in May, I believe. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, so first we have the market assessment where we looked at the demographic makeup of Yolo County, such a determinant of the transit demand within the county and the service area, development patterns, and overall travel patterns in Yolo County. So population, the service area population is 380,000. This is all of Yolo County and some portions of downtown Sacramento. When we talk about service area, we like to talk about places that are within half a mile of transit service. As you're all sure are familiar with, the major population centers are outside of Sacramento or Davis with 65,000, Woodland 61, and West Sacramento, along with the rest of the population of Yolo County being primarily rural and low density. Next slide, please. So for a variety of reasons, there are certain demographics that use transit at higher rates than others. So we like to pay lots of attention to these populations. These are populations like seniors, youth under 18, college-age residents, zero-vehicle households, low-income residents. These are all populations that for one reason or another are more likely to be using transit. So this is looking at the Yolo County population that falls into these key demographics. You see that the youth under 18 is the biggest group, followed by big proportions of college-age residents, primarily in Davis and throughout Woodland and the rest of the Yolo County, along with low-income residents and seniors, and the smallest group being zero-vehicle households. Next slide, please. And then we looked at how much access do those populations within the Yolo County in the service area, how much of that population has access to fixed route transit service. Again, these are the amount of the population in the service area that is within half a mile of a transit stop. So we see that the majority of zero vehicle households have access to transit service, followed by college-aged residents and low-income residents. We see the smallest transit access with persons with disabilities, but they also have access to Yolo Bus Special Services, which has a different service area. Next slide, please. So as part of the market analysis, we like to have a holistic idea of the travel market within the service area. In the service area in 2023, when we conducted this analysis, this is overall transit riders, non-transit riders, people in cars, people on bikes, people walking. There were 840,000 trips made daily in the service area. That's actually an increase since 2019, post-COVID. Weekday trips increased 14% since 2019, and weekend trips increased 22%. And then top travel flows, again, this is mode agnostic. We see that the biggest travel flow is between Sacramento and West Sacramento, which is not a surprise since downtown Sacramento is such an employment, has such high density of employment. And then those intercity trips between Davis and UC Davis, and then trips between Davis and Woodland. Again, it's important to have an understanding of this holistic image of travel patterns so we could best figure out how to leverage YoloTD's plethora of services to best serve these travel flows. Next slide, please. So again, these are overall travel trends. These are provided by the data platform Replica. Again, this is transit, non-transit. These are overall just transportation trends within the service area. We compared fall of 2019 and fall of 2023, which was the most up-to-date data that we had at the time when we conducted this analysis. So overall, some interesting patterns when you look at, again, holistic travel trends. For example, this is looking at travel by time of day, and you see that travel has shifted slightly later in the day, slightly less trips 7 and 8 a.m. and more trips 4, 5, 6 p.m. Next slide, please. And then not only the time of trips shifted, there's also why people were traveling to begin with. Probably not a big surprise, but the number of work trips declined between fall 2019 and fall 2023, as a certain section of the population had more access to remote work opportunities. And similar story with school, as more students had access to more remote education opportunities as well. But then we also see that the number of trips that were taken for shopping and for social visits actually increased. So this all has ramifications for how transit performs and how transit could best serve these changing travel trends in the region. Next slide, please. We also, as part of this analysis, developed something that's called a transit propensity score, where for each block group in the service area, and what we are really trying to do is trying to understand the latent demand for transit in the region. This is something that's calculated by taking key demographic information along with the number of trips being made, job and employment density, along with some characteristics of the built environment, including intersection density and EPA walkability scores, to really understand where there is this latent demand for transit usage. The areas with the highest demand in the Yolo service area are throughout UC Davis, West Woodland, and some areas of West Sacramento and downtown Sacramento. All right, so that was the look at this overall just travel market that's going to inform our recommendations. But now we're going to shift into current service performance of transit operations that YoloTD provides. Again, I'm sure. Yes.
Should we wait to questions till the very end, or do we ask questions in this section, or just I don't know how you all want us to proceed with them, either to staff or to the chair?
I think staff would prefer that we get through the presentation and then ask questions, if that's all right.
All right.
All right, so Yolo bus system overview. I'm sure you're all familiar with the services that YoloTD provides. There's the fixed route Yolo bus service, and then there's two demand response services, Yolo bus special ADA paratransit service and Beeline microtransit service with the 4 zones that it serves. And we can move forward from here. Yeah, so the Yolo bus network, it provides service within Woodland and West Sacramento. These are local services within those cities. And it also provides service throughout the region as well, connecting Woodland, Davis, West Sacramento, downtown Sacramento, Sacramento International Airport, and Cache Creek Casino as well. Next slide, please. So this is looking at the overall number of passenger trips and the number of service in terms of revenue hours since 2019. We see that there's been a decline in both the number of riders on YOLO bus fixed route services and on the amount of services that are being provided. In 2024, YOLO bus fixed route ridership was approximately 52% of 2019 levels, with 604,000 riders. And then vehicle revenue hours were 65% of 2019 at 65,000 revenue hours. We compared this with peers, and this is a slightly higher ridership decline that was seen amongst peers. Peers on average recovered an average of 71% of their ridership. Again, YOLO buses, fixed route bus services recovered 52%. And they also restored more service as well in general. So you can go forward from there. And then looking at YOLO buses ridership at the route level, we see that ridership on the YOLO bus network is really concentrated in its highest performing routes, which are Route 42, which is the interregional loop that connects Woodland, Davis, West Sacramento, downtown Sacramento, and Sacramento Airport. And then Route 215, which provides service to the Cache Creek Casino. And I did want to mention that Route 44 has come back since we conducted this analysis, but we don't have ridership data for that. So by day type, this is in 2024, average daily ridership on YOLO bus, there's approximately 2,000 trips per weekday on average. On Saturdays, there's approximately 1,500 trips. And on Sundays, there's approximately 1,100 trips. Again, Route 42 and 215 dominate weekend ridership as well. They make up approximately 85% of weekend ridership. And did want to note that approximately half of YOLO buses operate, but YOLO bus routes operate on weekdays compared to weekends. Next slide, please. Go ahead. Oh, sorry, previous slide. I thought I heard something. In terms of service efficiency, this is where we sort of look at bang for your buck, trying to understand how many passengers get on per hour provided of service. This is a very important key metric that we use in transit planning. On the system average, there's an 8.3 passengers that get on per revenue hour provided. The most efficient service is Route 215, which carries 17 passengers per hour. That's most likely a factor that Route 215 is really keyed into the travel demand at the Cache Creek Casino. And the least productive routes are 211, 40, and 230, which carry less than 5 passengers per hour. And we also like to look at passengers per trip as well, due to the fact that the long length of a lot of these routes that are provided due to the long distances that are covered, we get a slightly different image if we look at the number of just the passengers per trip. Again, system average was 9 passengers per trip, and the most productive route was Route 215. Ridership for stop. Ridership is concentrated in the larger cities of Yolo County. Not a big surprise. A lot of ridership is concentrated at Woodland, Davis, downtown downtown Sacramento, and there's a lot of ridership in Cache Creek. Next slide, please. The top boarding locations, the highest concentration of boardings is at the Cache Creek Casino Resort, followed by Y Street and 45th in Sacramento, then followed by the County Fair Mall Transit Center in Woodland, and then the 2 transit stations at UC Davis. Next slide, please. Also looking at Beeline performance, this is for fiscal year 2024. Annual ridership on Beeline was around 25,000. This is around 2,000 passengers per month. And we see that by service area, Beeline performance in Woodland has the highest concentration of ridership. A lot of demand there, especially compared to Winters and Knights Landing, which are 3,000 passengers in.
Yeah, can I just jump in that the city of Winters is 2.9 miles? It's not square miles and there's only one bus, so obviously the ridership would be reduced with a population of 7,000. 3,050 is pretty high.
Yeah. No judgment calls there. Is just to say that there's different levels of demand due to different populations that Beeline is serving. It is worth looking at the efficiency of Beeline, especially because Beeline is replacing some routes, particularly in Woodland. So there used to be 4 routes that served that provided fixed route service in Woodland in 2019. Again, there has been some pretty significant ridership decline. Since then, due to different travel trends, so in 2024, sorry, this should be average daily ridership. We see that Woodland Beeline in 2024 was carrying a similar level of average daily riders as Woodland Fixed Route was. But when we look at it at a passengers per revenue hour lens, we see that Woodland Beeline is a little less efficient in terms of the amount of resources that are required to move people around just due to the nature of demand response services, which the trips are really tailored to more individual trips as opposed to fixed route that is able to carry more passengers just due to the fact that it's not deviating. So popular destinations for Beeline service. For Woodland, it's Woodland Community College, the Gateway Shopping Center, and Westcourt Plaza. Knights Landing had pretty didn't have any major popular destinations. It has a pretty just limited stops within Knights Landing and Woodland. Winters, the big popular destinations for Beeline services were the Vacaville Premium Outlets, and it also connects to Davis, so other popular destinations were UC Davis and the University Mall. Now looking at Yolo Bus Special. So Yolo Bus Special has increased pretty significantly since 2019. It's around 39% since 2019. There's 24,000 trips in 2019 and 33,000 trips in 2023. Again, we like to look at efficiency just to be good stewards of resources and to understand how to make improvements. Again, when it comes to demand response services, it is just difficult to be as efficient as you can get with fixed route services. Yolo Bus Special was carrying approximately 1.3 passengers per revenue hour. The peer average was 2.4, and this might be just due to the nature of Yolo County, in which trip distances are quite large due to the rural nature and low density of a lot of the large distances between the population centers. When it comes to cost, there is a subsidy per trip of $8 per passenger and a fare box recovery of 4.6. So that's approximately 5% of operating expenses are being covered by the fares being charged to customers. So we also looked at the top destinations for Yolo Bus Special. We see that ridership is quite concentrated at the top 10 destinations. Over 50% of Yolo Bus Special trips in fiscal year 2024 were concentrated in the top 10 destinations. These included special education schools and assisted living facilities, healthcare facilities, employment services, and both retail for both shopping and employment trips. Really highlights just how important Yolo Bus Special is to providing service to individuals that are not able to access fixed route services or or drive on their own just due to the fact that they're getting the special education schools and getting the assistance they need both at assisted living facilities and at healthcare locations. So the key takeaways from looking at how service was performing, ridership is recovering, but still below pre-pandemic levels. Routes 42, again, that's the interregional loop that connects to all the major population centers and downtown Sacramento and the airport. And Route 215, which provides service from Woodland to Cache Creek, they carry the majority of system ridership. In the report, we have more details into the service design, but low service frequency and limited spans could really affect the competitiveness of transit against other modes that people may have access to, including automobile driving. Commuter service demand has shifted while weekend demand is rising. Again, YoloTD has made lots of changes to the Yolo bus service to sort of move away somewhat from the commuter focused express services just due to the fact that the travel demand market is changing. Beeline productivity is lower than fixed routes, but it definitely has a role in serving lower communities. And as you even see within Woodland, it is very popular when compared to fixed routes as well. And then Yolo bus special demand is growing significantly, which is worth noting just because it's so resource intensive and is such a vital connection for the passengers that need it to connect to key destinations throughout Yolo County. So as part of the short range transit plan, we also conducted a community survey. Next slide, please. This was conducted last summer between June 14th and August 7th, 2024. There were approximately 200 total responses. We promoted the survey on social media, onboard posters and announcements, and at pop-up events, which was done in conjunction with other YoloTD outreach efforts. And we were trying to capture the whole gamut of riders, current riders, former riders, and potential riders. Next slide, please. Rider profiles. So most riders walk to and from bus stops, and bicycling is the second most common access mode. And the primary trip purpose was commuting to and from work based on the survey, with the secondary purposes of shopping and recreation. So a key part of our survey was understanding what respondents valued in the transit system and how satisfied they were with the system. So any discrepancy between what they thought was important in transit service and how satisfied they were, that really lets you zoom in and really call out what needs to be prioritized for improvement. So we see the biggest discrepancy between what passengers thought was important and how satisfied they were with current YoloTD services. Oh, sorry, can you go back, please? Was bus reliability, followed by bus frequency, how often they're coming, and then that service span, when service is available. So this really is calling out that any recommendations that come from this short range transit plan effort should be targeting bus reliability, improving frequency when we can, and then, improving the hours of operation to make these services more attractive. Next slide, please. But you do see that there are some aspects of YoloTD services that the public is quite satisfied with, including availability of seating on the bus, bus fares, and bus safety. Next slide, please. We also asked some service design questions. As part of this effort, we asked some trade-off questions. You might remember from your Transit 101 presentation that Lola gave previously that a key consideration is this whole frequency versus coverage, because you could have one, but it's a trade-off with another. So other respondents, 65% prefer more frequency at key locations as opposed to broader coverage of fixed route service, and most would prefer a longer walk to more frequent service than a shorter walk to less frequent service. So again, the respondents to the survey let us know that they really value frequency in their service. So key conclusions from the survey. The respondents want us to improve reliability of existing services. They really want to increase frequency on key routes, especially during the AM peak. Yeah, they want to extend service hours in the evenings. They want us to focus more on frequency over coverage. There was a preference stated on fixed route service as a primary service model. Again, that's an interesting point because that's a stated preference, but the revealed preference is that the Yolo Beeline services are quite popular, and that since most passengers stated that they accessed transit service either by walking or by biking, that enhancing first last mile connections can really do a lot for improving the quality of life for those that are using and want to use YoloTD transit services. Next slide, please. So goals and objectives, these are some draft goals and objectives that that were developed to really focus on what it is that we're trying to do with the SRTP and what are some performance measures that we could potentially use for measuring that performance. We want to provide a high quality transit service, and you do that by providing an attractive service and a reliable service. And we have measures that can be put in place to make sure that we're trying to accomplish those objectives and thus goals. So for example, for goal 1, for high quality transit service, you measure that by measuring changes in ridership, the percent of trips that are on time and the missed trips. We want to improve accessibility of service, and we want to provide equitable service. Next slide, please. It's key that we are reaching an environmental sustainability goal, and transit, the key role that transit could play in environmental sustainability is in reducing SOB travel. So it is important that you make a transit service that is very attractive to those that have other means. We also want to have seamless regional travel, and we want to also be good stewards of public resources and efficiently allocate resources. So a little small, I apologize, but basically for the timeline, we are in the process of developing recommendations at the route level for Yolo bus services and also for Beeline and Yolo bus special. Next slide, please. So we want to use these findings from the existing conditions and proposed goals and objectives to develop these recommendations for service improvements. We are looking at 4 different scenarios. Since it is going to 2031 and the resources that are available, we just want to build a reliable recommendation, resilient recommendation. So we're looking at different funding scenarios as to how much resources we have available to make recommendations up to 2031. Like I mentioned, we are working on these recommendations. We want to present those to the board in July, and we also are going to present recommendations from the SRTP to the public, but before we finalize any recommendations that we want to put forward. And with that, we are open for questions.
Director Lauren.
Yeah, first I want to say thank you, Ron and Daniel, for your work. I think it's a really important work to think about how people get around and how they get around with the values that we have on the first page of our agenda. We have definitely clear values. But I wanted to talk about a couple things in your presentation. One, when you do maybe a graph like page 27 of the presentation, it has Yolo County population of key transit riding demographics. I would just say it's a really strong slide to have seniors, youth under 18, college aged residents, 0 vehicle households, and low income residents. demographic to demographic. And that makes sense to me. When you make another bar graph that has Woodlands ridership for microtransit and Winters ridership for microtransit, it's almost like we have the same service, but we don't at all. They have all their fixed route, and they have six buses, and they're what hours? 4 buses. What are your hours? Oh, I'm sorry. I believe the hours are 7 a.m. to about 10 at night, on Fridays and Saturdays, and late in the evening, the rest of the weekdays. The reason I'm pointing that out is that if you're gonna compare us, Winters current service is 9 or 8 a.m. until 4:30 and no service on Sundays. So if you were gonna do apples to apples, there's no comparison. And please don't put us side by side. I just think that it misrepresents the ridership in Winters. And if you, again, like I said, if there's 3,000 people riding in a population of 7,000, I think that's pretty great. I wanted to also talk to you about page, let's see, it's the page that says Beeline Microtransit Service Performance. And I just wanted to point out that it says, just get my little note out there.
Do you have the page number?
I know I do. It's 85.
85.
I couldn't, yeah, it's 85.
That's in the packet.
It's in the packet. Yeah, I'm looking on my computer.
Thank you.
In Winters, Beeline service has both lower ridership and lower productivity. Than the discontinued 2020 Route 220. And I would just add 220C. Winters Beeline carries 1.3 passengers per revenue hour, while the Route 220 carries 4.4. Again, just with the limited hours, that also is not an apples to apples comparison in ridership if it's not the same hours. So I think you could relook at that. And then I wanted to talk about I think it's page 100 of the packet. You said that this is a survey that you're doing, that you started in 2024, and it's to go to 2031. Let me get to page 100. I'm very slow at the scrolling. You went through it pretty fast, and I'm still pretty slow. When I looked at that map and I expanded it, I was super happy to see my friend Dagoberto Fierros on there, because he used to work in Winters, but he left in 2020. So I know that that map is from at least 2020, and we have expanded tremendously with a big housing boom. So if you could reach out to Winters and maybe get a newer map, I would appreciate it. Those are my current comments.
Thank you, Director Warren. Director Chapman.
Sure, thank you, Chair. Just my only questions right now are, just kind of curious around the methodology on the community survey. It seems kind of curious as to why we picked summertime to do the survey when people are busy and there's no students and things are going on, right? So why that was chosen, and kind of what your average response rate is. 209, and like in the ballpark, an acceptable rate for response to surveys. And then also, I didn't see in the packet, is there a breakdown of where those respondents came from? I'm curious to know if it's the reflection of people's feelings. When we look at some of these routes that are underperforming or have low ridership, what are some of the barriers, for those numbers being that way? And were those folks interviewed, or did they engage in the survey? That's my questions around the community survey. Or whoever, I don't know if it's them or you, or.
Yeah, I can take that one. So Tim D was brought on board, I think it started in May, and at the time, so under normal circumstances, community survey during the summertime isn't what you would prefer to do. At that time, we were trying to maintain a project schedule such that we could have some service recommendations in front of the board by December of 2024, because there were some really important funding programs that were going to be coming up that we wanted to be in position to apply for. Well, it turns out that those funding programs were since delayed and postponed another year, so that freed up our schedule to to relax our schedule a little bit. And so that was how we ended up with the results that we got. 209 is a little bit low. And so I think that what most people, I think, are probably going to respond to is when they start to see and we solicit input on the service recommendations of what we propose to, keep and what we propose to change. I think that, the survey data isn't the only data that we have for planning purposes. We're continuously getting input from writers, our committees, public in general, and other efforts as well, like through the YoloTD project and through, the YoloTD managed lands projects. There's a lot of information that we receive that sort of helps inform, provision of services for the plan.
Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know we were doing this in coordination with Unitrans, and I thought that while the original survey was primarily done in 4 months, that we actually extended it into the fall. Both we and Unitrans did to collect additional survey data after the students came back.
Yeah, we did. I think that we extended the survey deadline, closing date through, I want to say October. We didn't, the survey responses, kind of tapered off towards, the end of that 4-month period, but yeah, the bulk, the initial launch of the survey was midsummer.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And then just the last question I have too, is there, when we're looking at these, do we, are there conversations or is there information around when you look at some of the underperforming routes, right? And you see like most of them are kind of inner city type, right? Is there a correlation between an increase in spend and Lime and bike share, scooter share, all that? Is there a sense that that's impacting kind of the inner city stuff? It's cheaper, it's on demand basically, right? And that last mile as having an impact on our fixed route inner city type bus.
I'll take that one again as well. I would say that the only location where that would really apply would be in West Sacramento, and I don't know that we can make a conclusion on that, in front of us today without looking more closely at the data. In Davis, that would be in effect more primarily on Unitrans, riders. And then, we did some shifting of the Route 42 in Davis as well. Some of the Unitrans riders have shifted onto us. So it's really hard to try to separate, even the effects of our service changes from 1 year to the other, let alone the effect that, the micromobility has on the ridership. UC Davis has done research in this area, and they have drawn conclusions, but whether or not it's, tied directly to our service or not, isn't clear.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Director Chapman. Director Ferris?
Yeah, thanks very much. And just a couple quick things. So let's see. And so starting on slide 26, which is the population demographics slide, just seems like the service area population, I think if I heard it correctly, so it seems a little high. Yolo itself is 220,000 people. And I understand that we have service, essentially to the airport and through downtown Sacramento, but it's still, what was the metric again? Like it was like X number of people within, was it half a mile of a bus stop or something like that? So even though, even though like the bus stops at the airport, there's really no residents on the airport. But then it basically goes directly to downtown, no stopping anywhere there. Except for in downtown. Downtown Sacramento doesn't have that many people to make up the balance from going from 400,000 down to 220,000. Where are we getting all those people from, I guess? Even the routes that go through downtown Sacramento, within a half a mile of there's absolutely, I don't think another 200,000 people. That's my guess, but I'm just curious about that. It seems high. So that's the first question. No need to answer it right now, but just curious about that. Slide 29. The travel pattern slide, 840,000 trips made daily in service area. I assume that's just all trips, like car trips, like your individual. Okay, just curious about that.
Yeah.
Okay, all trips. Okay. Top travel flows. So I guess the question, so Davis to UC Davis and 67,000 trips. of what? 60,000, so 67,000 trips of bikes, of walking,
Again, all types
All
of travel.
modes.
all modes. So
Mhm.
how is that? I'm curious how trips from Davis to UC Davis are defined.
It'd be from the city, within the city of Davis to the campus. From the within the city of Davis, basically internal trips within Davis that are one end outside of the campus, the other end within the campus.
So would that be like, I'm walking from my student housing down the block?
We tend to, actually, I believe we just look at trips that are over a half mile in length. So yes, if you're walking over a half mile, true, but if you're like if you like your housing is right on the border of the campus and you're walking third of a mile or what have you, that wouldn't count.
Okay, great, thanks. That's really, really helpful, that, okay, thank you. Slide 46, which is, flipping to slide 46. And it's in other places too. I think it's time to retire the term Yolo bus special. I think we've had those conversations. I'll just put that out there again. I mean, just whatever we do with that service, whether it continues as is, morphs to something else, we look at other options for, I know it's that there's other whole conversation, I think, around that service, but the term Yolo bus special, I think, has outlived its usefulness by about 30 years.
Yeah.
But that's just just a quick comment, not about sort of the transit operations of it. I do think that actually on that same note, though, we should be exploring other options. So if you're on slide 46, like, I mean, you know, subsidy per trip, $80, it's just a lot. We know that's a service that also, it's a very needed service. But I mean, like in Sacramento's Director Early and I were talking about, you know, there's a nonprofit organization that runs paratransit in Sacramento, Paratransit Inc. Have we ever had any conversations about them, you know, potentially operating this service in Yolo County? There are other agencies around the country that do things differently, and, you know, maybe they're just using the private sector sort of vouchers or things of that nature, you know, Uber, Lyft, I don't know, but I definitely think we need to have a conversation about that entire service at the appropriate time. And then the last item is on slide 55, which is just the key survey conclusions. So there's lots of key, from the survey conclusions are obviously based on people's responses to the survey, I get that. But for me, one of the ones that's completely missing here is how about new services in currently unserved areas or corridors? Like, there is no discussion of that as a survey conclusion. And people may not have raised it in the survey as they took the survey, but I think it's an area that we really need to have a discussion about. So one example we use is the Road 102 kind of Woodland to Davis corridor. I mean, I don't know what the daily trips there are, but I know there's a discussion earlier about the number of trips to and from Woodland and Davis, which I think was 30,000+ per day. A lot of those are not on a Yolo bus route. They are on areas and roadways that are currently not being served by public transit. And I absolutely think we need to be having that kind of discussion as part of our short range transit plan. Those are my comments. Thank you. Oh, and of course, we need to continue to keep the eye on the prize on winters. So I'll just second and third that. Thank you.
Can I add to his comment that, in the key takeaways, you have beeline productivity lower than fixed routes, but has role in serving rural communities. I just would like you to look at that with the hours available, and also Knights Landing and Yolo and all the new areas that we've added. It seems like a fresh look at that needs to happen.
And just a comment, thanks so much for the work on it so far. I mean, thanks for the overview and update. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for my colleagues' comments. Do I have any more questions, comments? I'm looking here, okay. All right, I'm gonna take it to public comment now. Come on down.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hurley, for the chance to address the short range transit plan. So some key things. Yes, fully agree on maintaining fixed route service as the primary service model. That's been a big advocate for that in winters. Sound like a broken record, but it needs repeating. focus on frequency over coverage. I've been a big advocate of getting the whole 42 schedule to a 30-minute frequency without any route change. Maybe in partnership with CARTA, that could happen. Extend service hours in the evening. We're becoming a big sports town, as you could see from behind me. The A's shirt has come out again. The Kings are going to play again tomorrow, Wednesday night versus Dallas in the SoFi play-in tournament. So there'll be a lot more detours in downtown on Wednesday. And in increasing the frequency on key routes, like I said, the 30-minute frequency for the goal for the 42s, and then both peak hour routes, AM and PM, not just the AM. But one thing that was really intriguing to me, especially with voicing for the riders of the city, county of Sacramento and Sacramento State, were the origin destination pairs that you have on page 121 of the board packet. I was really intrigued about 5 in particular: Sacramento, West Sacramento, Sacramento Woodland, Davis, Sacramento, Arden Arcade, West Sacramento, Elk Grove, West Sacramento. You know, these are areas where Yolo bus fixed routes don't even serve. And I was like, whoa, okay. So I'd like to know if part of the conversations that Lola would like to have with jurisdictions and stakeholders in the coming weeks and months, if they're going to reach out into the Sacramento County jurisdictions, we would love to come to the table and talk to her whenever the time on her schedule is right, to schedule something to move forward with this, as was mentioned earlier in tonight's meeting. And I'll close with this to comments made by Director Ferricks. In late June 2020, Paratransit Incorporated changed to PI Solutions because the ADA paratransit service provider, July 1st of that year, became SAC-RT Go Paratransit Services. VIA is now doing a service called SAC-RT Flex, and that started in January of 2025 as the Smart Ride service, which is Beeline in Yolo County. Smart Ride on the NBA side of the river has become SAC-RT Flex. So just some big changes that have happened over there too. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments.
Absolutely.
All right, do you have any additional public comment from the audience? Seeing none, Madam Clerk? No comments online. Okay, perfect. Bringing it back to my colleagues. Do you have any questions or additional comments? Director Lauren?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, if we're imagining where we'll be in 2031, it would be pretty awesome to be able to go to the airport from Winters and have a connection to be able to take that ride, because I would definitely do it if it was possible for me, and I bet a lot of other people would too.
Great comment, just visioning where we're trying to go. Great success. Any additional comments? Seeing none, I just have one, and it's fairly small. Under the beginning section, the very tiny paragraph on page 10 that goes over West Sacramento. I know size doesn't matter. But on the new residential development projects, an additional one, and you may or may not be familiar with it. It's something like roughly 400 apartments, actually in Southport, right across the street from the Nugget, actually. It's called Connect, KINNECT. Are pretty, again, nearly 400 apartments, maybe even over 400, I think maybe 470. So something that you're missing here that you would likely want to add. What else are you looking for from us today on this? Just to make sure we're being responsive.
This is purely an information item. Wanted to let you know we are still working on this, and we will be coming back to you again in July for recommendation. So this is purely informational.
Okay,
FYI.
Great. Have you taken it to the TAC?
We have not.
Is there a plan to take it to the TAC?
Yes, they're scheduled, this is scheduled for the next meeting.
Oh, perfect. And have they already, because it's hefty. Have they already been provided the report, or is it coming to us first? And then it's going to them?
And normally we go to them first, but just the timing of, they meet usually quarterly. And we just came off monthly meetings with them, so this meeting is sort of off cycle for the TAC. But yes, we'll make sure they receive it with plenty of time to review.
Perfect. And then the CAC, they've already reviewed this.
No, they're on the same, they're off cycle too.
Oh, okay.
They'll see it in the meeting.
Okay, still see it the May, and then you said you guys are coming back to us in July.
Service recommendations, yes.
Perfect. So what's the general timing for, you will see TAC sometime maybe in the next 2 months. You'll see CAC, you've gotten our comments, some of them back here. How will you be incorporating them into your recommendations?
But both TAC and the CAC will get the same presentation in early May. And then we'll be taking that feedback. It'll inform the service recommendations. When this comes back to you in July, it will have incorporated those comments and, you know, that input, right? And then we won't be asking for an action from the board in July. We'll be discussing the service recommendations, and we'll be just, you know, the relative merits and drawbacks, then going back, getting your input on that, going out to the community at large, getting their input on it, and then probably in what, early fall, mid-fall?
Early fall, exactly. Early fall, I believe October is when it's currently scheduled, and then for a full adoption of SRTD in December.
Great, thank you so much for sharing that timeline. Director Warren?
Yeah, and I wanted to say, obviously, many of us feel very passionate about this service. But with our core values, I wanted to mention that when you do have this prepared for the CAC, that we also have an ADA compliant visually, so that the fonts aren't so small. That we need to make sure that people have access. Thank you.
All right, seeing no additional comments, we are going to move on to, I think, are we doing long range, executive director?
Whatever order you'd like to take that.
Oh, I don't have it in front of me, so I'm going off my memory.
Start with board member verbal reports.
Okay, let's do any board member reports. Okay, I've got none. That was easy. Now it's to you.
Okay, great. So I will go ahead with my executive director's report and then can roll right into the long range calendar, and then we'll hear from Transdev. So a couple of things I wanted to cover very quickly. We have about a $5 million funding request pending with the SACOG board as part of the SB 125 transit funding program. I want to thank Chair Early, Vice Chair Lauren, and Director Chapman on the SACOG Transportation Committee, who spoke up that SACOG was considering two options for funding YoloTD, one lower, one higher. The committee unanimously supported the higher funding amount. Thank you very much for that. That recommendation will now go to the full SACOG board for approval this Thursday, and hopefully we'll have a similar outcome. Staying with SACOG for a moment, something that's come up recently in recent conversations is how we allocate federal transit funding for the Sacramento urbanized area. We share this pot of funds that come from the federal government with SACRT and the other transit operators in the Sacramento urbanized area. Allocation of those funds has been governed by an MOU that was signed in 2015 between ourselves, SACRT, and all SACOG and the other transit operators. We receive about $1.1 million a year in those funds. SACOG recently informed us that MOU is going to need to be updated. Last week we got a draft of the new MOU, which is a pretty significant departure from the 2015 version. We're currently reviewing that MOU in consultation with our legal counsel, not Phil, but our other legal counsel. And we're gonna, once we've had a chance to review that and really dig into it, we're gonna be adding that to an upcoming board agenda for a more detailed conversation. But suffice it to say, a lot at stake for us in that MOU. We want to make sure that we get it right.
I want to make sure I don't maybe misunderstand. When you say the Sacramento urbanized area, is that like Winters and Davis? And so it's all of Yolo County? It's considered I didn't think so. That's why.
It's not.
Specificity matters.
So we are special. We actually cover 3 urbanized areas. One is we have a piece of the Sacramento urbanized area, which is mostly Sacramento County, but includes West Sacramento, and it includes portions of El Dorado and Placer counties. Then we also have a Davis urbanized area and a Woodland urbanized area. So we get funding from all 3 of those, but it's just the Sacramento urbanized area that is the one that is up for discussion or renegotiation with this MOU.
And again, I'm gonna just, clarify, and so what's up for discussion, is specifically West Sacramento.
That's correct.
Okay, just.
Yes. Oh, well, and to the extent because we
Just
also,
making it nice and clean and
because we
easy.
also serve downtown Sacramento and the airport. That's also part of our service area.
Got it, thank you.
Sure. Okay, a couple other quick updates. Woodland Transit Center, we are currently working with City of Woodland at the staff level to develop some new options for relocating our transit center here in Woodland. Those conversations have been productive, and we hope to convene an ad hoc committee, which again is comprised of Director Vega, Director Frericks, and then at the City of Woodland level, City Council Member David Moreno and City Council Member Vega. We're to convene those conversations sometime in late May and early June, once we have some alignment at the staff level about which options we want to look at. So more to come on that. And then May 27th, transit funding workshop is coming. It was supposed to be tonight. We did end up rescheduling that, mostly to make sure we had the right lineup of speakers. We've got some great folks coming. The event's going to be here in person and on Zoom. We've begun advertising it, and we hope to, it's open to all. Great opportunity to learn about how transit funding works and also the status of it and then hopefully the future of it, based on what we know. Major League Baseball season, of course, is here. We're out in force on opening day with our new bus stop signage, wayfinding signage, handing out flyers, and so far we've had a great response to the service. The A's are featuring us on their transportation website, which is super cool. And we've seen some people flying in from all over the place and then literally hopping on our bus at the airport and going to the game and then taking the bus back to the airport after the game is over. So it's pretty cool to see that. And then lastly, I want to congratulate Julie Holmes from TransDev, who was recently named as the general manager for TransDev here at Yolo Bus.
Congratulations. Okay, before you end, I had a question. I was trying really hard not to interrupt you again though. On the May 27th meeting,
Yes.
can you do us a huge favor? I won't speak for my colleagues on this one, but at least for West Sacramento, all of my colleagues, council members, including our mayor, would like to come to that, and ideally would like to attend all of our workshops.
Yeah.
And so can you send an invitation out, like just a meeting invite out to all of us?
Absolutely. You should already have it on your calendar. We'll make sure we get it to the rest of Woodland City Council. And if
Perfect.
there's other requests like that, please feel free to send them our way.
What's that?
And you can also
Woodland?
forward it.
Yeah.
Okay, for your whole councils as well.
Sure.
Great. Let's do it.
Mine definitely wants it. The number of times I've mentioned fiscal cliff, they're like, well, what are you doing about it? And I'm like, it's funny, you should say that. Got a plan.
Just need to remember to do the noticing requirements on your end, that would be, a convening of the.
Yeah,
That's
just
a
ask
question
that our mayor.
We're not voting on anything,
That's all.
or even discussing something that I don't think that's a thing.
Yeah, I think, so there's an exception to the Brown Act for attending a noticed public meeting of another legislative body, and this would be,
Okay.
yeah, they would not need notice separately.
Yes, yeah. Thank you.
It's also available virtually.
Yes, that will be on Zoom, broadcast on Zoom.
Okay, perfect. And then just last thing, still on this, are you, I know at least my transportation staff have been invited. I'm assuming you guys have sent out invitations to our TAC as well?
I believe so. But,
Your face says yes.
yes,
Awesome, great, thank you. That was it for my questions.
and the CAC as well.
Hello.
Just a few updates. So we started, like Autumn had mentioned, we started the ACE sweeper in March. Good ridership on that. We're currently preparing for the increased service of Knights Landing and Winters. So the Knights Landing will be 7 to 7, and then the Winters will have the 2 buses. There's gonna be 1 bus 7 to 7, and then we'll have a peak bus. So that peak bus will be the 7 to 11, and then 3 to 7, or 3 to 6 rather. Our new bid is scheduled to start on the 27th, so in line with all of this new stuff. numbers, currently we have 82 operators. We have 7 in our classroom setting of training, and then we have 4 behind the wheel. So they will be out soon.
Thank you so much, Julia. Great. Okay, now I'm gonna kick it back to you for long range calendar.
Great, so if you can go ahead and, oops, excuse me, if you can go ahead and pull up that slide, great. So, we'll just quickly run through, you will be seeing the draft budget for fiscal year 25-26 in May. We'll also have a conversation about our Yahtzee project, an update for you on those, our active transportation corridors. We're gonna be closing the 30-day public comment period on Fourth and Hope that we talked about tonight. And there's a new requirement that we have to have a public hearing for staff vacancies when we do our budget under state law, so we'll be doing that. May 27th, of course, is our special transit funding workshop. And next slide, yep, we'll have, then coming to you in June, big one here, our 1-year contract extension with Transdev for transit operations. This is our transit operations contract. We are looking to go out for a new bid by the end of the year, but in the meantime, we're gonna do a 1-year extension just for continuity, while we go through that bidding process. It's gonna be a major process, our biggest procurement that we do by far, and a very involved, kind of really a year-long, process for that. We'll be asking for your approval on the budget. We'll be sharing our audited financial statements. And then we have, at the request of the city of West Sacramento and SacRT, they are doing a pilot of on-demand service into downtown Sacramento. They've asked us to extend that. We'll be bringing that MOU to you for discussion. This short-range transit plan is going to come back to you in July with recommendations, and we'll also be sharing updates on our YoloTD managed lanes project. 2 areas in particular we focused on: our traffic and revenue study, which is really important, which shows how much revenue we anticipate to generate, as well as what we think the likely demand is going to be for those lanes. And then also an update on our equity program that we are just beginning to develop. So that's our long range calendar. Any questions, comments, or suggestions for the calendar? We'd be happy to hear them.
The only thing I will flag for us is May is Bike Month. And so the bike rodeo is happening in West Sacramento. I should know the organization it's hosted by. I do not, but it's May 3rd. So if you haven't gotten your socks yet, well, we've got a nice little bandana that you can get, right? As well as oh, I've got them, as well as our biking socks, May is Bike Month. So I would encourage everyone to come out for that. Any additional comments? Okay, perfect. Seeing no further business to conduct, I'm going to adjourn this meeting at 8:12. Thank you so much. Next meeting is Monday, May 12th at 6 p.m.